Good evening. Welcome to the March 10th, 2015 work session of the Gaston County Board of Commissioners. My name is Tracy Philbeck. I serve as chairman of the board as well as commissioner for the Dallas Township. I'd like to welcome our viewers and thank Time Warner Cable and AT&T for making this possible for our citizens. For our television audience, I'd like to present to you your Gaston County Commissioners, beginning on my right.
Alan Fraley, Cherryville Township.
Good evening, Chad Brown, Riverbend Township.
Good evening, Mickey Price, South Point Township.
Good evening, Jason Williams, Gastonia Township.
And Joe Carpenter, Crowder's Mountain Township.
Good evening, Tom Kicker, Gastonia Township.
Thank you, gentlemen. Our first item is proclamations, commendations, awards, and certificates. First up is Commissioner Carpenter with a proclamation of County Government Month. Then Commissioner Carpenter will do commendations for the Gaston County 2014 Employees of the Year. And after that, each commissioner will just follow behind Commissioner Carpenter with the awards that you have. Commissioner Carpenter.
Good evening. Welcome to our meeting. This is, we have in Gaston County some of the most wonderful employees that do a great job for the citizens, and each year we recognize those who have been chosen by their peers. So let me read this. Gaston County employs approximately 1,500 dedicated employees, and whereas each year these employees nominate and select from among themselves the most outstanding Gaston County employees. And whereas an outstanding Gaston County employee is one who has rendered excellent service, performed in a manner that has won the respect and admiration of his or her peers, and exhibited an attitude and professionalism to be emulated by others. Now therefore be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners commends. And I'm going to read each one of these, but we got commissioners that's going to come and present different ones. But they are Pam Bryant, Jenny Brown, Detective Joe Birch, Wanda Clemmer, Sonja Floyd, Juan Garcia, Captain Chris Hendrick, Sherry Michael, Sarah Miller, Deputy Julie Stillwell, Joseph Anderson, Naomi Paul, and Steve Wilkes. I have as mine to present, and if she will come forward, and that is Sarah Miller. Sarah, you here? Sarah works at the library. Does an outstanding job. Come on up, Sarah. Let me read this for you. Sarah is a librarian supervisor for the library. Sarah is a devoted library employee who is behind many of the outstanding library programs, including On Your Lap, Baby Story Time, Sensory Story Time, and interactive programs with the emphasis on family of people with autism, sensory challenge, or other special needs, and bilingual story time as part of a grant we received in 2014 to reach the Hispanic population. Sarah's efforts on a grant from the Glenn Foundation paid off in 2014 when we were awarded funding for smart board technology at the branch library locations. Now every library location will be able to provide technology-based interactive programs for all ages. For her devotion to serving all the Gaston County residents, Sarah Miller is an Employee of the Year. Sarah? You want to speak to that? You want to say?
Thank you so much. I just want to accept this, but know that there are so many more people who really deserve this in our library system because of the ideas that I have. They're saying, sure, we'll do it. So I want to thank all of my library co-workers because of them, I can do what I do. So thank you.
Thank you. before the others are presented, I want to read our proclamation on county. Can I do this now? You want me to wait? Okay. County Government Month is this month, and I want to read this where it says, whereas the nation's 3,069 counties, that's all over the United States, serving more than 300 million Americans, provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant, economically resilient communities. And whereas counties move America forward by building infrastructure, maintaining roads and bridges, providing health care, administering justice, keeping communities safe, running elections, managing solid waste, keeping records, and much more. Whereas Gaston County and all counties that pride in their responsibility, respect, and enhance the health, welfare, and safety of its residents is efficient and cost-effective way. And whereas through National Association of Counties President Ricky Hakoma, Transportation and Infrastructure Initiative, NACO, that's the National Association of Counties, is encouraging counties to focus on how they have improved their communities through road projects, new bridges, building new facilities, water and sewer improvements, and other public works activities. And whereas in order to remain healthy, vibrant, safe, and economically competitive, American counties provide transportation and infrastructure services that play a key role in everything from residents' daily commutes to shipping goods around the world. And whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to actively promote their own programs and services to the public they serve. Whereas Gaston County recognizes the 2015 National County Government Month theme as Counties Moving America Forward, the keys are transportation and infrastructure. Now therefore be it resolved that Gaston County Board of Commissioners proclaimed April 2015 as County Government Month in Gaston County and encourages all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. And this is to be a part of our agenda. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Carpenter. Commissioner Brown?
Ms. Sonia Floyd, please come up.
Hey, how are you? Good to see you.
Sonia was a training supervisor in 911 communication, but recently was promoted to administrative operations supervisor. Sonia was an amazing example of leading by example. Sonia regularly works late and is always there to help her employees. Sonia has taken a dispatch console, filled in for supervisors on the floor, and ensured the communication center had what it needed to get the job done. Sonia has been able to multitask between her training assignment and working within the communication center as needed. Simply put, she is there. She is the go-to person who is willing to go above and beyond to accomplish the task, regardless of the task and her responsibility or not. For her communications run efficiently and effectively with her outstanding work ethic, Sonia Floyd is Employee of the Year.
Thank you.
I would like to thank my family and the commission for recognizing me, and to my peers, I would like to thank them for also recognizing me. But I couldn't do this without my communications team. They pushed me to be the person that I am. And also to my bosses, the Assistant Chief Ramey and Chief Bowie, they are always supportive of me, and I couldn't do it without them. So, I mean, thanks. Thanks, guys.
Assistant Chief Ramey, if you'd step up, please. This next award is for a gentleman who's in the audience with his family, but due to the sensitivity of his job, Chief Ramey will step up in his behalf, but we do thank him and his family for being here. Joe Birch is a detective with the Gaston County Police Department. Methamphetamine abuse is the issue across the country, which Gaston County is no exception. Fortunately, we have Joe Birch. Joe is seen as a local expert by his peers, being constantly called upon by outside agencies to assist their meth investigations. Joe was even asked to present a case study at the 2014 SBI Annual Methamphetamine Recertification. This honor demonstrates Joe's professionalism and reputation with the other agency. Joe has taken a lead role in meth awareness for the public. He provides volunteer fire departments, both inside and outside Gaston County, with meth awareness training, which is crucial to their safety. He was essential in forming the Methamphetamine Task Force, which includes law enforcement agencies in Gaston County and DSS. DSS involvement is critical because of the dangers meth poses to our children. Joe's nomination calls him the most dedicated employee I have ever come across. That sentiment was echoed by many others in the department. For his dedication and expertise contributing to Gaston County for all, Joe Birch is the Employee of the Year.
Joe would like to thank the board. He'd also like to thank his family who's in attendance with him. We would like to thank his family as well because his job duties often call him away at the drop of a hat, and sometimes he has to leave those family functions, and we do appreciate their support. We also would like to, on behalf of his two supervisors, Sergeant Rollins and Sergeant Leatherwood, and his captain, Captain Mooney Smith, we'd like to thank him for his dedication and his leadership.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is Ms. Pam Bryant here? Is Sarah still here with the library? Is she there? Sarah, I just want to tell you, I really appreciate, my kids love you. I appreciate you helping them with the books. If I could get my wife to return the books before the late fees rack up, I think I'd be doing better. But I did want to point that out. I appreciate all that you do with the library. Thank you. Pam Bryant is an administrative assistant in HR. Pam was an HR star in 2014, first by covering front desk duties after HR lost an employee due to retirement, and then by accepting even more duties when another HR employee was out for surgery. This was all in addition to her usual job duties, and she managed it all with a smile and customer service. As one of her 3 nominations states, through Pam's hard work and dedication, our benefits teams was able to meet the needs of our employees and retirees and continue with the day-to-day operations and human resources. For her ability to graciously take on new challenges in a busy environment and for her professional and caring manner, Pam Bryant is Employee of the Year.
I just want to thank everybody in the county, but in particular my co-workers in HR. They've been fantastic. Thank you.
HR is one of those positions that is really thankless until you need something. Then everybody knows how HR is. Chris Hendricks, I think, Mark, are you going to accept on his behalf? All right, appreciate it, guys. Chris Hendricks is a captain with GEMS. Chris is a member of the North Carolina Helicopter and Aquatic Rescue Team, or NC HART. This team is called upon when a person is injured or stranded in a situation that requires a helicopter-based rescue. Some of you may recall this scenario occurred in March of 2014 when a climber fell at Linville Gorge and was stranded on a small ledge on the side of a mountain. Chris and his partner rappelled down to the hiker from the helicopter in a rescue that received national media attention. As one of the internet comments stated on ABC News, hats off to those who risk their lives to rescue the average Joe. For his ability to perform and deliver life-saving assistance in a pressure situation, Chris Hendricks is Employee of the Year.
Thank you. Chris would like to have been here tonight. His dad is in the hospital, kind of having a tough time, but he told me he really appreciates this honor. Thank you.
Commissioner Fraley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two from the IT department. Would Joseph Anderson, Naomi Powell come up, please? Anybody that would like to join them? This is actually a teamwork award. I don't know that we've given this before, but you guys may be the very first. One of our most popular features on our website is the Geographic Information System, or GIS, web application. A new version of this application needed to be developed as an old version was no longer being supported by the vendor. Since this is something the public greatly relies upon, it's a project that was needed to succeed. Joseph Anderson, a systems developer too, and Naomi Powell, a GIS systems analyst, both are in the IT department. Joseph worked with county GIS experts to develop a completely new design for our application. The application has one map-centric application which functions similarly to Google Maps, and a second data-centric application which users can make inquiries and retrieve data. The data-centric query application was a capability that our users had long been asking for. In addition, a version of this application was created to work with mobile devices. Joseph mastered the application programming interface and used it to create a useful and user-friendly GIS application. Naomi served as a business expert in the process. Naomi was very familiar with the old system and its users and used this expertise to ensure inclusion of the features our users depend on in the new application. Naomi also helped research other GIS websites for ideas we could use and tested and retested the application in a variety of ways to guarantee a good experience for the user. She even created a series of instructional YouTube videos to assist our users in using the new application. Joseph and Naomi's creative thinking and the practical approach is evident in many places in Gaston County's new GIS application. Their focus from the user's perspective makes this project something that will serve our users for many years to come. For Joseph and Naomi's exemplary teamwork, they both received the 2014 Teamwork Award. Congratulations.
I just want to also thank the rest of the IT department who helped us in other things like our database and web security, and also thank all the GIS editors and all the other departments, because without them we wouldn't have data to share. Thank you.
Come on up here, Steve. This one's called the County Manager's Award, and it's a little bit special in as much as I exerted executive privilege, if you'll accept that, and appointed Steve to this particular award. Steve is a really outstanding employee in general, but this year was particularly special. He made a contribution that is just unusually noteworthy. Over the years, I think Steve had observed that our roof systems were failing and that they had not performed in accordance with the expectations that we had for them. So despite the fact that these roofs were within the were not within the manufacturer's warranty period, they were well within their useful life. And Gaston County was experiencing some problems that were not expected. So Steve was very persistent in working with these contractors and the manufacturer to remedy these problems, and finally his persistence paid off. I think he just wore them down, you know. It was a war of attrition, as it were. But in any case, you know, Steve managed to get these roofs replaced at no cost to Gaston County. Prior to the administration building, we'd experienced similar problems with the courthouse, jail, and social services buildings, but Steve managed to convince the manufacturer to replace these roofs for a total cost savings of $1.5 million for Gaston County. So that's pretty significant savings, particularly at a time when we could ill afford that kind of expenditure. So for Steve's hard work, dedication, and attention to cost-saving measures, the great benefit that our organization experienced, he gets the County Manager's Award this year. Steve? Please.
I want to thank the board and the county manager. Thank you.
Commissioner Kieger.
Save the best for last, huh?
Mickey's up after you.
Really? Sherry Michaels, come on up. I do want to point out that at the Employee of the Year Awards luncheon a couple of weeks ago, the recipients of this award, there was much more to their bio that the folks that nominated them gave them, but in the interest of time, we condensed them a little bit. So I wanted people to know that they do a lot more than what we're just saying here. Good evening. Sherry Michael is a tax listing specialist, too, in the tax department. Sherry often assists with our older citizens, and she's specifically being recognized today for the service she provides them. Sherry's nominations described her as patient, calm, and just knowing when someone is struggling and in need of care. You calm? One nominee stated it best, it is important that we help our elderly citizens. Sometimes their own families won't help, and they get frustrated with the process. They need and deserve someone to help them, yet in a way that allows them to keep their dignity, and Sherry does this. For setting a high standard in the kind and patient treatment of our older citizens, Sherry Michael is Employee of the Year. Of course you do.
I'd just like to thank everybody that's involved in getting me into this spot, and God for getting me here. I know He led me to this position, and thank Him for all the people that He's allowed me to help. I love my job, and I have great supervision, great co-workers. So Gaston County's been good to me. Thank you.
Let's see, Don Juan's next, but we're going to hold off on Don Juan and go to Wanda, and we'll be gentlemanly about it. Wanda Clemmer. Good evening. Wanda is the assistant tax collector in tax collections. I bet a lot of people have gotten upset with you over the years. We have known Wanda as an outstanding employee for quite some time. This is the third consecutive year Wanda received multiple nominations. Having worked every aspect of tax collection, Wanda goes above and beyond her supervisory duties by being a mentor. Some of the comments from her employees include, she makes us feel important and appreciated. She's a motivator and a positive role model. She listens, and Wanda is an inspiration. For her compassionate leadership and for being an inspiring role model, Wanda Clemmer is Employee of the Year, and congratulations.
I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate my coworkers. Without them, I wouldn't be standing here, and I couldn't do what I do without them. Thank you.
Come on. Here comes Don Juan Garcia. Have that deja vu feeling. Haven't I been here reading this before? Was it a one-man department or what? Congratulations. This is Juan Garcia, everyone. Juan is a member of the Planning GIS Planning Department. He's a GIS data analyst. Juan is a star employee who touches many other departments and even outside organizations. Anyone who has ever requested data compilation, data analysts, map creation, or any number of related things knows exactly why Juan is now a two-time Employee of the Year. One employee shared a specific example. When I requested information, not only did Juan answer my question, but he linked me to all the sources he thought might be helpful. He also explained how he synthesized the data from multiple sources to generate the most accurate results. In short, he provided not only the answers to my questions, but also provided the information and guidance to locate and analyze more data. For his expertise and cooperation both in and outside our organization, Juan Garcia is again Employee of the Year.
Really? Wow. Okay. Chairman and Board of County Commissioners, just want to say thank you. This is just an honor. I'm really humbled to just serve the citizens of Gaston County. I know it's the second time. I don't know why I did it. Probably didn't work hard the first time. But I just want to say thank you to my family, my kids, and sorry guys you missed soccer practice tonight, but you still have some homework to do. So, but thanks again, and I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now we have saved the best for last. Commissioner Price.
Absolutely. Would Deputy Julie Stillwell please join me at the podium? Any family and friends that would like to come with her? Good evening. Julie is one of the domestic violence deputies in the Sheriff's Office. Since 2011, Julie Stillwell's job has been to stop domestic violence in Gaston County. Julie has a knack for not only relating to the victims of domestic violence, but also the offenders. This helps her safely serve protection orders and warrants and make arrests. In October, WCCB Charlotte wrote along with Julie and appropriately described her style as finesse more than force. Julie's interview with WCCB displayed the good work in the Gaston County Sheriff's Office is doing to curb domestic violence. Julie's focus is on the children of domestic violence, not only to get them to safety, but to break the cycle. As Julie said in her interview, domestic violence is a learned behavior. If they see it, they're going to grow up and do it, and we want to stop that. For her dedicated service to the families of Gaston County, Julie Stillwell is an Employee of the Year.
I would like to thank the Sheriff for allowing us to have a domestic violence unit. Without the unit, we would not be successful in serving the protection orders and the domestic violence warrants. So thank you, Sheriff Clayton.
Miss Jenny Brown, please join me. They did save the best, don't they?
Yes.
Jenny Brown is the lead worker for Economic Support Services in DHHS. Even though Jenny is assigned to the Economic Support Services on the second floor, she works across programs to assist staff throughout social services. A typical day for her would include helping an adult service social worker with an elderly client that needs heating assistance, converting a food and nutrition or Medicaid report from a state system into a spreadsheet for first floor and second floor supervisors to review, taking an emergency assistant application from a family and children's services referral to alleviate a crisis or keep a family intact, and many more tasks. One of Jenny's 3 nominations described a time Jenny approached a client who was upset and crying. Jenny said, "Let me help you. Let's go in here and we will call your worker. We'll get you taken care of." For her extraordinary flexibility and compassionate service to the residents of Gaston County, Jenny Brown is an Employee of the Year.
I would like to thank God for His many blessings, and I would like to thank my family and my friends for their love and encouragement. And I would like to thank you, the board, and the citizens of Gaston County for allowing me to serve them and you for 21 years. I've enjoyed every day. Thank you.
I think that's all the employee awards. If we could, let's give them one more thank you. We sure appreciate it. Next, we have a proclamation for Professional Social Service Work Month, and our Executive Director of DHHS, Mr. Chris Dobbins, will join me, please. Good evening, sir. Whereas the primary mission of the social work profession is to enhance well-being and help meet the basic needs of all people, especially the most vulnerable in society, social workers recognizing that more must be done to address persistent social problems, applying their research and advocacy skills to transform community needs into priorities and to empower diverse individuals, families, and communities to bring about group change. And whereas social workers know from experience that discrimination of any kind limits human potential and must be eliminated, and that poverty and trauma can create lifelong social and economic disadvantages. Social workers help people in every stage of life function better in their environments, improve their relationship with others, and solve personal and family problems. And whereas social workers strive to promote and safeguard the right of all children to live in a safe environment and receive quality education, the right of older adults to age with dignity and independence, the right for veterans and their families to receive community support that ensures successful transitions after military service, the right for all to enjoy relationships free from violence and intimidation, and the ability for all citizens to access to mental health treatment and health care services. And whereas social workers celebrate the courage, hope, and strength of the human spirit throughout their careers, now, therefore, be it resolved that the Gaston County Board of Commissioners, in recognition of valuable contributions made by Gaston County social workers, proclaims the month of March 2015 as Professional Social Work Month, and calls upon all citizens to join with the National Association of Social Workers and the Gaston County Department of Health and Human Services in celebration and support of social work profession. This to be adopted the 24th day of March, 2015.
Thanks, Mr. Dobbins. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Price, Commission. As I walked in tonight, I saw a lot of uniforms. Remind me of a very memorable part of my life, serving law enforcement in the Air Force. And one of the things I was reflecting on as Commissioner Price read this, I've had the opportunity to serve as a social worker with a gun, and I've had the opportunity to serve as a social worker without a gun. And I will tell you, both deserve your undivided support and attention for what they bring to your local community. So thank you to all who serve for the betterment of our citizens, those with guns and those without. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item is certificates of appreciation for public service. It is a great pleasure for the Gaston County Commissioners to honor citizens who have unselfishly given of their time, talent, skills, and energies in service as an appointee to one of our boards or commissions. This type of service is the foundation for citizen involvement in our county government and is helping shape the future of our community. We gratefully acknowledge the work of the following individuals, and certificates of appreciation have been forwarded to them. Mr. Dennis Noble, the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, William N. Bill Craig Planning Board, and Bill Litton with the Transportation Advisory Board. Thank you for your service.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Commissioner Keeger.
I'd just like to point out, we thank thankful for all the volunteers and those that have rotated off or had to resign for whatever reason, from volunteering to a county board or committee, commission. But I just wanted to take just a little extra second here to recognize Mr. Bill Craig. I know many of you know Bill. He's a farmer, basically. Those of you that don't know where he lives, I'm sure you've passed his home down on South Union Road, down below the racetrack. He's the guy that's got those black and white cows. I think they're called banded Galloways. But Bill has been a volunteer, and he served in an elected capacity on the Conservation Board, Water and Soil. He's been a volunteer for this county for probably 40 years. And I just wanted to take not that everybody doesn't deserve extra recognition, but Bill really put it forward. And due to some health issues, he just needed to step down. And I'm personally thankful, as is the board, for all his service. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Keeger. Our next item is citizen recognition. We have one signed up, Becky Catherine. You would say that again? Catherine. Excuse me, Becky Catherine. If you would, please state your name and address.
My name is Becky Catherine. I reside at 402 Lakewood Drive, Gastonia, North Carolina. Tonight I signed up because I want to read to you the oath of office of Deputy Sheriff. I do solemnly swear that I will support and maintain the Constitution and the laws of the United States and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina not inconsistent therewith, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office as Deputy Sheriff, so help me God. I do solemnly swear and sincerely swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina and to the constitutional powers and authorities which are and may be established for the government thereof. And I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of said state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, to the best of my knowledge and ability, so help me God. I do solemnly swear that I will be alert and vigilant to enforce the criminal laws of this state, that I will not be influenced in any matter on any account of personal bias and prejudice, that I will faithfully and impartially execute the duties of my office as a law enforcement officer, according to the best of my skills, abilities, and judgments. So help me God. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is Adult Care Home Community Advisory and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee reports.
That was a mouthful, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
I'm Cindy Englert with the Ombudsman Program with Central Iowa Council of Governments Area Agency on Aging. And I'd like to, as you did recognitions earlier, thank the volunteers that serve with this committee who give of their time and effort spending time with the residents here in Gaston County who reside in both our adult care homes and our assisted living facilities. Peg Argent from DSS Adult Services, as well as Stephanie Stevenson and the other adult home specialists, serve as our backups. I'd like to thank the commissioners for the volunteers that you appoint to our committee and the work that they've done on behalf of Gaston County. I'd like to share briefly the role of the Ombudsman in working with your committees. We have roughly 200 volunteers in our 9-county region, and they are part of over 1,800 statewide volunteer advocates. In Gaston County, volunteers serve both the adult care homes, family care homes, and nursing homes. These volunteers receive 15 hours of orientation and in-facility training. They receive an ongoing 8 hours training each year throughout quarterly business meetings. The Regional Ombudsman Program provides several services to the volunteer committees. We conduct and coordinate their quarterly trainings. We provide technical assistance in explanation and possible interpretations of the North Carolina federal regulations and the residents' rights that they work so hard to protect. We provide assistance in organizing resident and family councils within our homes, and we offer guidance and direction in complaint resolution as they work through those processes. Our volunteers are mandated through the North Carolina General Statute and are legislatively empowered to serve as a resident advocate, making them the only agency that has the resident as the focus point for their work. They accomplish this advocacy by making quarterly visits to the homes to discuss residents' rights with the residents directly. They work with administrators, families, and residents on specific concerns or requests that the residents voice, and they develop special projects throughout the county to help bridge the gap between facilities and the community resources. Region F has grown to over 16,000 long-term care beds, making it one of the largest in the state. Gaston County has over 1,200 nursing home beds and 950 adult care home beds. I'd like to highlight some of the work that's been done by your committees from a report that was submitted. Did I already give those to you? I will send those. They'll be forthcoming. They've hosted a very successful Residents' Rights celebration at the Senior Center here in Dallas, and we really do appreciate the attendance of the commissioners, the county employees. I know the sheriff and some of the public officials have taken time to come and not only attend, but assist during the event in giving out goodies as well as mingling with the residents themselves. Our committees have made additional visits to area facilities outside of their required quarterly visits. They provide activities, supplies, and helping to coordinate the community volunteers. This group has worked to develop a good, strong relationship with each other and the long-term care providers, finding that if they have good working relationships with the administrators, they're more successful in getting the needs of the residents met. Some of the challenges that these committees have identified: not having full committees make it very difficult to accomplish the mandates of the program. There are currently vacancies on both our adult care home and our nursing home committees. Some of the reluctance of our facilities to follow through on suggested changes brought forth by the committee require them to bring things forward again and again, making it a little bit frustrating at times. And finding volunteers who are willing and capable of spending the time that's required, understanding that this is a working committee and not just a committee that meets periodically. The committee would like to invite each of you as commissioners to attend an in-facility visit with them, getting a first-hand look at some of the issues that they deal with and to meet the residents who call our facilities home. Does anybody have any questions?
Are there any questions from the board? Commissioner Keeger.
Yeah, thank you very much. I can't believe it's been a year.
Seems like I was just here, doesn't it?
With regards to having this board visit, maybe attend a meeting, it could be helpful if maybe we could get contacted.
Absolutely.
And you know, with all the different committees and commissions we all attend.
Who would be the best person to reach out to?
I would say, Mr. Chairman, the clerk.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And maybe possibly get a list of some of the different groups when they meet and give us a specific time and date. That way we can firm it up on a calendar.
That would be great. They meet again in April for their quarterly meeting, and typically at the quarterly meetings they set their schedule for the whole quarter. So we'll forward those on to Donna after our meetings. And
where they usually meet at?
Typically they'll meet at one of the facilities directly.
Okay.
And so they'll usually try to visit 2 or 3 facilities within a given day. So we can let you know the first facility where they'll be meeting, and then we can coordinate from there.
Okay, that would be good. I think it would be helpful, Mr. Carpenter, if he got on that first group there and checked out those facilities.
You speak for yourself. I have visited before in the past.
Yes, you have.
Any other questions before the board?
It's just payback.
Thank you for your time
You're welcome.
and your report.
Thank you.
Our next item is a Crowders Mountain Volunteer Fire and Rescue Substation need. Mr. Chris Eason, Crowders Mountain Volunteer Fire and Rescue. Mr.
Good
Chairman.
evening. How you doing? Appreciate the opportunity tonight. I have spoken to individuals before, and this basically is to inform you of what we have been working on. It's been many years in the works, so we've been talking about the need for a substation. A little history, and I'm going to use a PowerPoint presentation to kind of probably help me out more so type thing. A little history real quick is, or a little information is, we do cover 43 square miles within the county. We service over 13,000 pieces of property. We run and do all this out of 2 stations. Currently our primary station being in the Bethany Road area, and also our second station is in Bessemer City. Call volumes, fire kind of fluctuates year to year between 1,300 to 1,500 calls, structure, automobile accidents and such. EMS, we do provide 24/7 EMS services, and very proud of that. We run about 3,600 calls a year on our EMS side on that. The thing we've been, from a board standpoint and from an operations standpoint, we've been working really diligently on for the last couple of years is to reduce our insurance rating, our ISO rating, as a lot of people still call that. That is set by the North Carolina Fire Marshal. And we currently have what's called a split rating. It's a 7-9S. A lower the rating, the better your insurance rates are generally associated to that. Anything within a 5-mile road distance, road miles from station that services that area is a 7 for us. Anything past that 5 miles but still within the 6-mile radius that we can service is a 9S at this point in time. The challenge has been trying to get all that reduced, and we're trying to reduce it for everybody in our area, all the taxpayers. We're down to a 7 for everyone except for a small group, and we are diligently working on trying to get it even down to a 6. Once you get down to a 5, there's really no difference in the insurance policies generally for homeowners. 6 is where you want to, it's just kind of the sweet spot, so to speak, on that. With that, in covering 43 square miles, we do have some pockets that fall into that 9S category. They're generally on the very outskirts and very few homes associated to that, except for one particular area. We do have an area that consists of about 845 homes, about $60 million in property value on that. And that is primarily in the Gastonia Township. Granted, we're Crowder's Mountain, but we reach all the way into the Davis Park, Hudson 321 corridor, and that's where those homes reside on that. They are 9S and are not getting to enjoy the lower rates from the insurance aspects. And the only way to fix that is to get them into that 5-mile radius. You have to get either, can't pick them up and move them closer to your station, you're going to have to take a station and get them closer to them. Now granted, City of Gastonia Station 5 is probably a mile and a half away from that, but the way the insurance looks at it, that station is not in the district, so it does not serve them from an insurance standpoint. But from a fire standpoint, right, Union Road's called in, we're called in, and also the City of Gastonia's called in, so they're very well protected. They just don't get the rates. How did we get there? How do we have such a large area, you know, that's outside the 5 miles? A little history real quick. Back in '97, and maybe Mr. Carpenter's the one that will remember this. Okay, I tried. Tom, help me out here. In '97, there was a resolution done to merge Chapel Grove and South Gastonia Fire Departments together, mainly because the City of Gastonia was annexing more and more of those areas in. In actuality, Chapel Grove, the city line was right beside that particular station. So the agreement was that with this resolution that we would do the merger. We did complete the merger in 2000, became Crowder's Mountain at that point in time. As agreed, we built a new station and we centralized that more in the district, and we made sure we took care of the rest of the county out that way. With that, there was an assumption, because the city was doing a lot of annexation, that they would take over the 321 corridor. They have water, they have the sewer, they also had the hydrants already run down through there. So we did not necessarily neglect those folks, but there was an understanding that the city would take them over eventually. Unfortunately, in 2011, the state did change the annexation laws, and the involuntary annexation laws got changed, and that has made it a little bit more difficult for annexation to occur with those particular laws. At this point, and in 2011 also, we realized that the city may never ever take that particular places over. Thus, we have been doing a lot of studying, a lot of work over the last year, 2 years to try to get ourselves in position to help these particular individuals out. There are options. There are more options than just going out and building a station. That is definitely one thing that we can do. Another option is to relocate our current station that's in Bessemer City, and I'll cover that in more detail in a second. Third option is to turn portions of that area over to maybe another fire department. Look where our 6-mile radius is overlapping someone else's 5-mile radius. Then allow those people to enjoy that lower rating aspect. Fourth aspect is obviously to stay status quo, and maybe the city will eventually annex down through there and help those individuals out. So option one is the one we've been pretty much primarily working with. That is to put a new substation into that location down in that area. Minimum, based on insurance, we have to have a tanker and a fire engine. So that means 2 bays, heated, and a small office. That is minimal standards for us to get down in there. We have already identified some properties. It's been very difficult to try to find properties the size that you need and then have willing sellers within that. Fortunately, we have found one piece of property that has already been graded, so it does keep our costs down from site preparation at this point in time. We've also been working with different builders to go ahead and get some budgetary numbers together to see what this will cost us, even if we expand it to a 3-bay situation. Other benefits as far as reducing the insurance rating for those particular individuals, another station would actually help the whole district. As I said earlier, we are at a 7. By adding another station within the district, it would actually help us reach an ISO rating of 6, which then helps out everybody in that particular district. We also would like to take advantage of that by placing our EMS ambulances there and service the Gastonia Township. There could be a potential for GM's co-location. They have their Station 2 is nearby there. There will be some potential there. Option 2, as far as I talked about relocation, we do have, I know it does seem odd that we have a station in Bessemer City. When the merger occurred, we merged also with Bessemer City Rescue at that point, and they had basically a free building sitting there. And based on the long-term plans, because Chestnut Ridge was supposed to come in on that merger also, we was going to service that area. Chestnut Ridge wound up going to Trinata, but we already had the station there with the bays. So we continue serving our area out of that particular station, and that is the primary EMS for us. Now, this is something new that really we just started looking at just recently. We started doing a little bit more research. We are covering a lot of homes from that station to within the 5 miles from there. But what we start looking at is, could we actually potentially look at relocating in an area that we still can cover the 74, 85 up to Bessemer City area, also go the other direction and get to the Davis Park, Hudson, and 321 corridor. Now, this is really kind of new. We start looking at it a little closer just within the last couple of weeks, and we start, just to kind of give you a visual, if we were to place Station 2 in the Linwood area, let's say like Episcopal ARP Church, Captain's Cap in that area, I know it's the city, but if we put it right there, we could go 5 miles either way and cover all those districts we're talking about. So that is definitely something new we're taking a look at with that. Option 3, redistricting portions. For instance, Union Road does, with 5 miles, does overlap in some of our 6-mile radius within that. Probably about 35% of the homes could potentially be picked up by Union Road. Now, the map would look kind of odd because they'd come down part of the road, and then the next part of the road would be 6 miles, and then we'd be taken over, and we'd have to potentially drive into their area. It becomes kind of a little bit of a mess. But it's feasible. Definitely is a feasible solution. We're still going to wind up with over 500 homes still not covered, still in the 6 area with that. And then, right, status quo. Not doing anything. It's definitely not where we're trying to head on that. We're definitely trying to figure out a solution for these folks. All right, tax reevaluation timing. not necessarily the best for us, but we're looking at it and working with Fire Marshal Hendricks. We've been definitely in communication a lot with him pertaining to these different options, along with looking at the reevaluation that has affected us. I have on here tax information from Gaston County GIS. Ironically, Juan Garcia is the one that's been definitely helping us out, and we definitely appreciate his help, and he's been very helpful to us. He's probably wondering where some of our requests are coming from, but he's been able to provide us that like a champ. Once we kind of figure out exactly what we think is going to be the best, working with everyone we need to work with, we will make a presentation to the Fire Advisory Committee. We can come back here and make a presentation too. And Mr. Brown, I believe you're on that committee, and so we'll work our way through that. That ends my presentation. Any questions?
I think Commissioner Brown had a question. Commissioner Brown?
I guess my question is, with Station 5 in the city, if there was something on the border within that 1 mile radius, who respond? Does the City of Gastonia respond to that as well?
They are on our calling card, I believe.
I guess my question is, with this board, maybe there's, and I'll have to talk to Eric or something about this, is there a way that if we partnered with the city, that may help somewhat alleviate that as far as jurisdictional things, if with some type of thing? Like I said, I don't know what we're looking at there, but as far as moving, if we did something in that area, how far down do we have to go to get into where we redistrict or we overlap into someone else's zone? I guess is my question, where we're at already, because we have a lot down there already, but are we going to get into some overlap down there already, like you were talking about with some problems?
I don't think there'll be any problems. I mean, it's right now it's kind of a you've got Union Road, Crowder's Mountain, and the City of Gastonia right there, coming together in one area. So our suggestion, if we want to look at that, is to pull Union Road in on this also as part of the discussion. And I have no idea what the city would even be interested, or the Union Road would be interested in taking some of this over too on that. What we'd also have to take a look at is that would take away from our tax base that we have. We're potentially not going to have a whole lot of savings because it's not going to reduce any of my stations, any of my equipment, any of my personnel needs. It will reduce some of my costs, which will, from a fuel cost standpoint. But one of the conversations we would have on that is how much of that tax base would it remove from us, and could we, work off of that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Price.
Yes. Do you know the potential savings from going from a 9S rating to a 6? What it is on a
we have some rough
$200,000 house or
yes,
whatever?
sir. We have some rough estimates, and we generally use a $100,000 home to represent that. Depending on the insurance and where your location is, and when you talk to anyone involved in insurance, they'll start asking, is it brick, is it this and that? But what we have found out is going from a 9S to a 6 can be a savings anywhere between $120 to $180 a year for a $100,000 home.
So $10 a month to $15 a month?
Yes, sir. So if you're looking at $60 million of tax value, so let's say you got $60 million in homes, that could save anywhere between $60,000 to $90,000 a year in that area by going to a 6.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Chris, first of all, I want to thank you and your board for the work you're doing, and I've met with you several times over this. And I know the hard work you do because I'm in that district. Have y'all come to a recommendation yet? Yeah, these options look like you've explored. The one that Commissioner Brown laid out, I don't know whether that's an option of maybe giving the city some of that tax from those districts, whether that would qualify with the insurance companies, and that's something new. But have y'all come with a recommendation?
No, sir, not tonight. I mean, this is today's supposed to just be more informative. If you ask me off the cuff, I mean, I would lean towards our option one of building a substation That would be the less intrusive and the easiest thing to do, with probably to us the biggest bang. But we also understand there's questions from other individuals for other options, so we want to make sure we uncover all those, because we could be completely wrong, and that there's really a better option out there than what we have right now.
Okay, thank you.
On that.
Commissioner Kieger.
Thank you. Well, I don't think you're completely wrong. I mean, you've done an awful lot of work in this area, Chris, and we appreciate it. But I guess until we actually see the new values of the property, and from my dealings and discussions with the tax office, some of the areas that you're involved in are, probably going to be coming down in value.
Correct.
So, that's something that this board's going to have to address maybe at the next budget, because whatever the rate is that each of these districts have, it's going to be affected, because if the property comes down, it's going to be less money to. So, we don't have that crystal ball yet, so we're going to have to see what really pans out.
Yeah, our current estimate in our area with the combined districts is about 3%.
Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Price, if you're trying to save money on your homeowner's insurance, just call me tomorrow. We'll talk about it. Mr. Easton, I appreciate what you're saying. Option 3 seems like it would be the quickest and easiest and cheapest thing to do, wouldn't it? I mean, it's something you could do really without building anything. We could just kind of redraw those lines. I know one of the most confusing things that we've dealt with in recent history was when you have somebody maybe in South Gastonia, like a Little Mountain Road or somewhere in that area, who was serviced, I think, by Union Road and then went to Crowder's Mountain, even though they're closer to Union Road. That's pretty confusing for them, and maybe where they could be classified as a protection class 6 or 7, they're getting hit with that ISO rating of 9. Right. So that's difficult for them to comprehend, because there's really no reason they should be in that protection class 9 other than they just happen to be in the Crowder's Mountain district. So that only makes sense to me that they would be in the closest district. And again, I don't know any other details other than that, but I know that was kind of confusing to explain to people how they got drawn out of a Union Road to Crowder's Mountain when Crowder's Mountain was further away. But just on the surface, it seems like option number 3 is the cleanest, easiest, and cheapest way to do it. And you can respond to that. The other question I'd have is, do you know how many people we have that may be in a protection class 10 out in that rural area out there?
I don't believe we have anyone.
We don't have any in a 10?
No, sir.
Okay. And because I know, as you talk about getting further away from, in between that 5 and 6 miles, my assumption is those taxpayers are paying the same tax as the citizens that are within the 5 miles, yet they're right. Not getting the same insurance rate, really of no fault of their own.
Right. And that's why we've been working at it, and that's just why we're looking at the different solutions. Option 3, again, is something that is on the table. We'd obviously have to pursue that a little bit more with Union Road, also with the City of Gastonia. We'll be looking towards, Fire Chief Hendricks, to help us with that too, and also Mr. Brown. Because we want to make sure we do uncover all that. Because at the end, we come back with a solution. We want to make sure we have all the questions answered.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I had just 2 more questions. One, if option number 1, the substation, was built, would that be the total elimination of one building and all the trucks and equipment would come from that building 2? Or are you looking at adding a 3rd?
That would be a 3rd. That would be Station 3.
So that would have a fire truck, a ladder truck?
It would have an engine and a tanker.
Okay. And the second one, do you have any, I know you're putting this together, estimated building cost?
Yes. We have a range of estimated building costs from about $130,000 up to about $280,000.
That's with the 2-bay?
The 2 bays in the 120 to 150 range.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Kieger.
Yeah, and this is probably something for Mr. Hendricks at a later date, but I think it would be helpful and very valuable for this board if we could find out, you know, what is considered a normal time, you know, for fire response.
Mm-hmm.
How long would it take us to get from one of the station houses to the farthest location in that district? And what's the average?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if the average is 4 minutes and we're at 13 or something, I think that's something we need to know. And those kind of facts could help us make decisions a lot quicker.
And staffing comes into play on that. You know, if you obviously have someone at the station ready to go, you can get that truck there sooner too. But if you have people that have to drive in before to pick up the truck, that all affects that response time.
But that's something you could get for us probably?
Yes.
From point A to the farthest point? And
Yes,
what's
sir.
the considered average? That would be helpful.
Yes, we should be able to help with that.
Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Price?
Was that 135 to 280 was just for the building?
Correct.
And you have you got to purchase the land? Or is the land going to be given to you?
We actually do have a situation where land is going to be donated to us, but what, further research on it looks like the development of that property would be very costly. We have another piece of property, the two others that we're looking at, and the price ranges are between $40,000 and $80,000 for those.
And a engine is how much and a tanker is how much?
We already have those. We have those ready to go. That's been part of our planning all along for this third station.
Just the building cost?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, obviously you'll have, you know, site preparation and parking lot and things like that would have to be included on that.
Any other questions from the board? I have just a couple. I think it's option 1. Is that the 321 location?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell me a little bit about the demographics of that area? That's economic demographics.
Average pricing of homes is probably more on the lower end, but we do have a lot of calls in those areas. It's probably one of our higher volume calls in there. I'm not sure exactly how to answer your question on that.
Let me phrase it this way.
Okay.
Would you say, based off of the demographics of your call area, that would be probably one of the more economically disadvantaged areas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yet they have the higher ISO rating?
Yes.
So if we did put, if we did put a station at 321, we could probably directly impact one of the poor areas in our community. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. When you talk about 130,000 to 280,000, you do have a cap as far as how much you can raise your district tax.
Correct.
How does building a facility fit into your budget, and where does that put you? For example, if this is something we wanted to go to and you spent $280,000, how's it going to fit in your budget? Are we talking about something you're going to have to come back and ask for increases? There's a state cap, so there's only so high you can go. How are you able to work that?
We have, the last 1 to 2 years, been looking at cost savings. We have been working diligently on the refinancing aspects of our station and the tanker that we had a loan on. With that, we've also been able to purchase 2 new vehicles, thus giving us the extra 2 that we need for this other station without any increases at this point in time. So we've got everything we need in preparation for this. From a tax increase, I know there was some very high concern that we're currently at a 9.5 cent rate, and that a third station, you know, would maybe, you know, add another 50% to that. That's not correct.
Okay.
We have a very good rating with the bank. We just turned in our audit report on that, and we have no problem getting a 15, at least a 15, if not a 20-year loan at 3.5%. rate at this point in time. So we're looking at $300,000, let's say $300,000 loan at about a $2,200 a month payment. So about, let's say, $24,000, $25,000 a year. On that, there is obviously operating costs involved in that, because we'll have to pay utilities and insurance and such. So we're estimating somewhere between a $15,000 to a high-end $18,000. So we feel that maybe at a $40,000, $42,000 a year, we could operate this particular, build it and operate that station. From a tax base, that puts us at about a 0.6, 0.7 increase. Not a penny, but a 0.6, 0.7 increase. And with the reevaluation, there's been a lot of discussion as far as revenue neutral aspects too.
Okay. I think I know the answer to this. I just want to make sure. If you raise the rate of 0.7, cover a facility at 321, yet you're going to cut their insurance costs, wouldn't there be a huge still net savings to the consumer?
Yes, sir. By putting the station in there, not only are we going to be helping that area out, we'll help the whole district out. Again, the goal is to get down to a 6. So the ones that are currently a 7 to get down to a 6 will make up, if not, being a positive side as far as the total money savings.
And what is 0.7 on a $100,000 home?
0.5 would be $5, so $7.
Okay, so they're paying $7 to reduce their insurance costs.
Potentially another $50 savings on their insurance costs.
Okay. Okay.
The ones that are currently in a 7 down to a 6.
Okay. Commissioner Brown?
Just one more question, and this may be for Fire Marshal Hendricks. If we were to, because right now, currently your district is 1, and I guess the tax base is a shared revenue stream between both stations as 1, correct?
Correct.
If we were to subdivide that for one or the other, would that help in trying to alleviate something? So we say somewhere outside of the 5 miles of Bessemer City, we chopped it off and we kept that as a different district. And we started a new district back over toward the Crowder's Mountain area. Could we then change the way the ISO reads to help that district to fund some of this? Even though the taxes is coming off the housing just there, could we not somehow manage that differently? Because it's a shared revenue right now with the way the buildings are set up with what you're paying for ins and outs, for your assets.
Right. We have 2 districts. We still have the Chapel Grove area and also the South Gastonia area. We keep the tax rate the same between both, and we treat it as one as Crowder's Mountain. Not sure what the effects would be or what the benefits would be based on your suggestion right offhand. And yeah, Fire Marshal Hendricks would have to chime in on that one. Good. Snuck up on me.
There's thank you, Commissioner. The creating a new district is inherent. It does have some problems because when you go now, you're developing new maps, new lines. That 1.5, 2.5, 5 mile, 6 mile comes into play in a new district. If I gather what I think you're asking, cutting out a portion of it and I guess having another fire department cover that particular district, or I may not be following you there.
If we had Bessemer City covering that ISO rating in a 5 mile range, I'm sure that's going to be lower to those taxpayers.
Okay.
It's not a shared revenue because right now you have a shared tax base. So you split that off and you create the Crowder's Mountain or the South Gastonia as its own, to where it has its own tax base, and you have 2 different tax rates to where you can try to supplement some of what he wants to do as far as getting another station down closer to where you're not affecting everybody. As a 3-station district, you're basically trying to make it a 2-station district to try to supplant some of that money so those people in Bessemer City aren't feeling what the same people are feeling out of trying to supplement another station.
Another area, okay.
But we can check on that later on. I just wanted to bring it up. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I could answer Commissioner Keeger's question. There's a NFPA standard, National Fire Protection Association standard 1720, I believe, and the national average. There's a few other factors that go along with this, but based on the classification of the area, whether it's urban or rural, you get into about 9 to 14 minutes is the national average. If you can beat those times, then you're considered above average. Typically, with a volunteer department covering a rural district, which is mostly what we have in the county, 12 minutes is our goal. If we can stay below a 12-minute response time, then we consider that's a good response. On the national average, again, 14 minutes being that number. I dare say our responses are much less than 12, but that is considered a very good response across the nation, if that helps you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Eason. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Our next item is a Sheriff's Office presentation. Sheriff Alan Cloninger. Sheriff?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
I don't usually have notes, but I have a few tonight. The Gaston County, this county, our great county, was created in 1846. The first sheriff was appointed in February of 1847. Since that time, for over 168 years, the Gaston County Sheriff's Office has provided to the citizens of Gaston County law enforcement services, arrest, protection, operation of the jail, courthouse security, service of all civil process, service of all orders of the court, and partners with all law enforcement agencies within this county to ensure that our county is a safe place. The men and women of the Sheriff's Office today work that same way. We take our obligation, our sworn obligation, to heart, that our job is for the protection of our citizens, to make Gaston County the county we want to live in and raise our children. In recent time, well, since February 29th, whether intentional or unintentional, events have occurred that draw into question the respect that you may have for the Gaston County Sheriff's Office. Now, I understand that I'm from a different party. And I understand you may not respect me. In my heart, I hope that's not true. But if it is, it is. But the men and women that sit here in this audience today and that are not here, they put their lives on the line for our citizens. They work every day to earn your respect. This past November, when the Sheriff's Office stood for evaluation before the people of Gaston County, we showed we had the respect of the citizens. When the decision was made and I got a call from the manager, and I will tell you this, you have a fine manager, a good man, honest man. He works well with me. He calls me. He emails me. We work for the benefit, and he has to concern for the benefit of all the citizens of this county. I'm proud to call him our manager. Let me say that out front. But I got a phone call, which you well know, saying that you as a board had decided you were not going to fund 6 patrol vehicles for the Gaston County Sheriff's Office. Blindsided I was, and I told you that 2 weeks afterwards at a meeting. No reason given, just you're not going to get the cars. If I said I was mad, would you believe me? So I came before you because the only person that basically talked to me after that occurred was Chairman Fieldback. And Chairman Philbeck, on behalf of the Sheriff's Office, we appreciate you calling and checking on our deputy who was involved in the accident the week before the 29th. So I appeared before you at public expression and explained to you what the best I could come up was why you would do that, the difference in the type of cars between us and the other law enforcement agency in the county, and the error on my part in not ensuring that the manager's office knew that we were more than happy to go with the Charger. I appeared here, stayed here, and none of you called me up to ask me any questions. We stayed here as an office, your sheriff's office, prepared to answer any questions that night, and we were never given the opportunity. We left when y'all started the appointments, which is usually the end of the meeting. But then after we left, a commissioner started asking questions about the sheriff's office. Then there were questions singling out the sheriff's office, as you've got to examine his budget. And in the action you took against the cars, no other agency's cars within the county government were touched. That rings of disrespect. All of you have my cell phone number. I don't know if Joe's ever called me, but everybody else has. I respond to you. Always have. Why nobody called, I don't know. These men and women, you hurt their morale. You hurt their commitment to this county. They don't deserve that, folks. Communications between all of us is very important, or someone gets hurt. And that's a true statement. If I have failed to make you feel like you can communicate with me, I am deeply sorry and I apologize. A week or so after the Tuesday night I spoke, I received a list of questions from Commissioner Philbeck. Since that time, former Chairman Keeger, contacted me and has met with me. Attempted to have some other meetings arranged, but I couldn't make them. Commissioner Williams has met with me. Commissioner Brown has called me. And me and Chairman Philbeck have met. Also in that mix is the manager. One thing that, if communication, and this is all a big misunderstanding, and again, you don't have to respect me, but respect these people. If this is just a big misunderstanding, then that's what it is. But me and Chairman Philbeck have pledged to meet once a month to forestall this ever happening again. And do not think for 1 minute I don't mind you examining my budget, scrutinizing me, and asking me questions, because I expect it. For the past 10 years, you've approved my budgets because they've been reasonable and they meet the expectations of the people of Gaston County in providing quality law enforcement service. We are a law enforcement agency. Me and the manager have talked, and together me and him are going to try to meet more often, just to forestall this. Because, folks, the economy's getting better. And some of these good men and women that put their lives on the line for the county are leaving me for $60,000 a year jobs at Duke Power. We got to keep them. We got to keep their loyalty. And one way is not to make them think that we, as elected officials, don't respect them. The questions that Mr. Philbeck, Chairman Philbeck, I apologize, mean no disrespect that way. Sheriff Cloninger, I want to reach out to you so I may clear up any misconceptions to simply have a better understanding for the Board of Commissioners of the Sheriff's Office. Can you answer and explain the following? Other than providing backup, does your office actively patrol? Yes, we do. I know none of you have ever been the head of a law enforcement agency or probably wore a badge. I have. Patrol. The definition. The simpler definition is the moment any law enforcement officer sets foot into their vehicle, no matter where they're going, where they're traveling, they are patrolling. They have the obligation to keep their eyes, ears open, to look for any violation of crime, look for any suspicious activity. They're listening to their radio. They have an MDT, which is a computer in the car. And if calls for service come up, and they're near those calls for service, or an emergency call comes up, then they respond. So if a deputy sheriff is going to serve a domestic violence paper in Cherryville, inside the city limits, because we do serve inside the city, not just in the rural areas. And on the way, there's a breaking and entering in progress at Hespa Church. That deputy hears that. I do believe you want him to be able to turn on his blue lights and sirens and respond and possibly catch a crime in action. I do believe you want that. Or if he sees a drunk driver, or she, going up the road, you do want him to be able, or her, to turn on their blue lights to stop that drunk driver before they hit a family head on and having a tragedy in Gaston County. So yes, we do patrol when we're going about our daily duties and functions within the county. How many speed radars does your office have? Are they operationally and are they used? Well, I could have as many as I wanted if I choose to do that. We're law enforcement officers, same training as anybody else. But we have one radar unit that was received in 1999 when Sheriff Russell applied for a grant. We have two radar operators, one from the 1999 grant who got certified then, and at the Sheriff's Office I require anyone that gets a certification on the taxpayer's dollar to keep that certification up. There's no point in retraining anyone. The second individual I have used to be a Stanley police officer. He was certified in use of the radar, and he keeps his certification up. It is in his vehicle which the radar is used. Do I send him out and say, go run radar over there? No, I don't. If he chooses to run the radar in his car, going to River Bend to evict someone, he has that right as a law enforcement officer and that sworn duty and obligation. How many employees are tasked with serving warrants, civil papers, etc.? Everyone who's a sworn deputy. Why does the sheriff's office need 62 vehicles? To adequately, effectively, and properly protect the citizens of Gaston County. Why do vehicles need to be patrol equipped? Would it be cheaper to use vehicles that are not patrol equipped to fulfill some of the duties of the sheriff's office? No. Because they're deputies. Now I will tell you, I've gotten under my door from my staff, which I appreciate, pictures of mopeds with blue lights on it, horses with blue lights on it. Remember the Ugo? I don't know where they got a picture of that.
I want you to think about that. They were joking. They're law enforcement officers. To ask that question sort of says, well, do you need a .40 caliber gun on your side or a .22? In the law enforcement community, there are certain types of vehicles which are approved and recognized for use by law enforcement officers. Over the years, I've tried to experiment with various kinds, trying to find the best and cheapest to operate. So yes, for us to do our job effectively and efficiently and protect the citizens of Gaston County, we need law enforcement vehicles with the emergency equipment, including radios, MDTs, consoles, to protect the citizens of this county. And sometimes I'm asked, well, and I'm sure you probably maybe asked me this. You never know how many cars you're going to need in an emergency. I know I've had a commissioner ask me before, because y'all know I've been involved in emergency services since I was 17. Been on the rescue squad, still am. Been a fireman, policeman, deputy sheriff. Until you've worked a scene, until you've been in a fluid situation of that nature and understand the demands, sometimes you just don't have enough cars. The night 6 years ago when the tornadoes came through McCannville, Belmont, Mount Holly, when I got the call for help from those chiefs, within 30 minutes I had 17 deputies on the road going there. Was that enough? Could have used a couple more. That's one of the reasons you need cars. Lack of equipment is not a problem until you need it. And then you're answering the questions, well, why didn't you have it? Can you explain how the vehicles that you currently have are used? I've struggled with this one, but I think I've already answered that question by answering the other questions. We use them to protect, to do our job, and to effectively run the sheriff's office. Gentlemen, you have my pledge as sheriff of all the people of Gaston County that I'll do everything within my power. And maybe I need to say that. I'm not interested in power. I'm not. I know all the rumors go around, oh, he's going to go to Raleigh. Well, I'm not of the right party to go to Raleigh anymore, am I? Never did when I was. I'm dedicated to this county just like you are. I've given to this county, and I will continue to give. But the people that really give every day are those individuals right there in those brown uniforms. I'm not the sheriff's office. They are. I'm proud of them, and I appreciate them, and I respect them. I ask that you do too. I ask that you not single us out, because they don't work for you. They work for me. I'm not your employee. I'm the employee of every citizen in this county. Every citizen, no matter who they are, what they are, where they are. And that is my commitment to you. If I in any way have made it where you don't think you can work with me. Will I agree with you on everything? Probably not. But I'll do better to try to listen to you. But in turn, I ask you, whether you do or don't is your business, that you do better to talk to me before actions are taken that gives the appearance that the sheriff's office is being singled out for unjust treatment within this county. Do you have any questions?
Commissioner Fraley.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm on now. First of all, Sheriff, I consider you a friend and have for many years and still do. And I was a little, concerned that you didn't reach out to me, to be quite honest with you. I kind of felt like I'd get a call from you or one of your guys. I consider you a friend, as I do many of the people that work in the sheriff's office. And, anytime that we have an item like this brought to our attention, it doesn't mean that we're mad at anybody or hate anybody. We've scrutinized many departments over the last 10 years. And I really don't even know where this actually came up or came about. Just being honest with you, don't know exactly, how it surfaced. But I think it is part of our job to look at items like that and to consider what needs to be done and when these things come up. It was nothing personal at all. And from my standpoint, I do feel there'll be reasonable, solutions worked out to do the right thing. But I just want to let you and all your people know, and I do respect you guys. I appreciate the job you do. And, I think most of the guys on this board feel the same way. I don't think there's anything personal. It's just trying to find a way to save taxpayer dollars where we can. And that's honest coming from me. And I'll let the rest of them speak for themselves.
And I thank you for that, Commissioner Fraley, and I understand that. And if I was asking for brand new cars that hadn't already met the requirements and have been approved in last year's budget, I don't mind no scrutiny. Please know that. Please, all of you know that. I don't mind scrutiny. Matter of fact, I enjoy it. And that's what I'm saying, is that there was a failure, not on your part only. I take responsibility too.
I would just add to that, let's keep communication open like we have in the past, and I think that will make things work out for the best.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Sheriff.
Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Price.
Yes. Thank you for your comments and presentation. I think you and I have had a conversation similar to this maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
6 years ago.
And I'm still going to disagree with you on what type of car you need and who gets them. So that's where I'm at, and I've told you that before. So,
and I've told you I disagree with you before, and I've told you my reasons, and I welcome you, all of you. Take a Saturday afternoon and come ride with a deputy. Get in a Dodge Charger in the front seat. Now you'll have an MDT in your lap. And spend a few hours with the deputy. Because it's about misconceptions. Maybe that'll clear some of those up. I invite you to do that. Or call me, I'll come pick you up, and we'll go out there and see what's going on in the community.
Commissioner Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Sheriff, I appreciate you coming, giving us the presentation today. I would concur with Commissioner Fraley that, you bring up whether it's political party, you've talked about it a couple of times.
No, I'll hit it a couple of times.
Here tonight, and I'm sure you may bring it up again before you sit down. That couldn't be further from the case. I've never heard one commissioner since I've been on here, which is given only 2.5 years or so. I've never heard one commissioner say, you don't run a good office. I've never heard a commissioner say, you don't do a good job as the sheriff. I've never heard anybody disparage any of your deputies, period. I've not heard it one time. I would say to you that, as I've already shared with you, the reasons I felt the way I did, so I'm not going to rehash all that. We've already talked about it. But you talked about approved in the budget, and my personal thought has been, even going back since my first budget year and the first time we approved purchasing vehicles, my protocol has always been, hey, let's make sure we still need every vehicle that we approved in the previous budget. As somebody who has a business, who has budgets, things change over the course of 6 months, 7 months, and you want to make sure that you're still fulfilling the needs that you needed, even though you thought you needed them 6 months ago, that they're still the real needs that you have of your department, your office, or your business. So I don't think it's inappropriate to ask the question of every vehicle that we're purchasing, do we need every vehicle? And when it was recommended that we may not need these possibly, I felt like that's how I made my decision. Going back to 2013, which is the first time, it was 3 months after I was elected to the county commission, this board voted to approve vehicles. I was the only person that voted against it because I wasn't given the assurance that we still had to have these vehicles. As somebody that answers to the taxpayer, just like you do, I have to look them in the eye and say, we go every time we have an expenditure, anytime we approve a purchase, we know that it's necessary and it's worth spending my tax money on and your tax money on. So I want to just clarify, no one was singled out. I don't think anybody has any vendetta against the sheriff's office that I've heard, or anybody feels like you don't do a good job. So I appreciate you, your deputies, and the job you do. And I would concur with Commissioner Fraley. I think hopefully if you're going to meet with the chairman and the county manager, I have no doubt that this type of situation won't happen. I hate that you felt that you were blindsided because I do think that's a big deal. And I think that you are owed that. So I appreciate you coming. Feel free to reach out to me if I can help you.
And like we talked about when we met Monday, when I was a prosecutor, I could have took some of the circumstantial evidence that occurred and gained a conviction for singling out. That's the reason I say what I say. I hope it wasn't. In my heart, I want to believe it wasn't. But I have to work just as hard as you do to make sure this situation doesn't come again. And yes, every day of our life at the sheriff's office, we're looking at ways to pinch pennies. Like the propane program that I'm trying to bring into all my vehicles to save money. We look at that. And if I saw I didn't need a vehicle, I'd come to the manager, I reckon, and say I don't need that vehicle anymore. But I'm not at that point. We serve the whole county, incorporated, unincorporated, do a lot of things. We need our vehicles.
Commissioner Carpenter.
Yeah, thank you, Sheriff, for your presentation. I assure you, as the others have indicated, there's absolutely nothing political or personal.
I shouldn't say anything about political. I apologize.
Well, even personal. We have to set a tax rate in this county to pay for all the activities. And we want to make sure that we get the best service at the lowest possible cost out of law enforcement. We do have a county police to do law enforcement in this county. You, as sheriff, can do that, but the legislature assigned that a number of years ago. And I will tell you that this board is sworn to the same oath that one of your officers read to us at the beginning. And we hold that very high. We take it very seriously. Yours is no different from ours. And so we have every department looking at priority-based budgeting. I don't think you've been participating in that.
Yes, I have, sir.
Okay, well,
you'll find that we're very lean under priority-based budgeting.
But going forward, I want us to look at what you need to do your job. We need to have that understanding so that we can feel good about setting a tax rate to pay for your department.
Well, it's not to pay only for my office. It's to pay for the whole county. But I will, in November of 2012, and I gave this to y'all at y'all's budgetary meeting back in 2013, I asked for an advisory letter from the Department of Justice, from the Attorney General. The question I specifically asked if the constitutional or statutory authority of Gaston County Sheriff's Office have in any way been restricted by the establishment of the Gaston County Police Department. For the reasons that followed, I'm of the opinion that the establishment of the Gaston County Police has not restricted either the territorial or subject matter jurisdiction of the Gaston County Sheriff's Office. Now, when you talk about the county police, I have the authority to do anything in law enforcement. Anything.
Nobody's denying that.
I understand that. Stay with me. But there may be a misconception of what I do. As I said earlier about patrol and explained to the deputies on patrol, they see a violation of the law, they have an obligation to take action. If they hear someone calling for help, they have an obligation to go. If I get a phone call from a citizen and they say, I got a problem down here in Dallas on Wilkins Street. There's drug dealing going on. Some of you may think that I call my deputies and say, go investigate that. Furthest from the truth. I call the chief of the Dallas Police Department, say I've gotten this complaint. If you need any help, don't hesitate to call me. That's what I do, Mr. Carpenter. We're not actively out here trying to replace the county police. We're actually out here working with them and every other law enforcement agency in this county, which I think is most important, is keeping our citizens safe. So I do take it very seriously that a sheriff, the highest law enforcement officer in the county, under the law, I take that very seriously, and I work every day to see that that works throughout our county through cooperation.
Nobody's, I don't think on this board's questioning that. What we're questioning is, do you need all of the vehicles to do this job? I have the highest respect for these people. Yeah, they're great officers. I'm saying that we're looking at what does it really cost to do what you're required to do.
I am required to enforce the laws, Mr. Carpenter.
I understand.
And that's the law.
Evidently, we're disagreeing on.
Yeah, we're going to disagree. We've disagreed for 10 years about that.
Yeah. And I've told you about some of that stuff. You said I didn't call you. We agreed that the chairman would talk to you about those vehicles. So I hadn't bothered to call you.
It should have been a phone, in my opinion, a phone call before y'all did that. Because I'm the one that runs the agency. You should have faith in my opinion, in my knowledge and experience.
Yeah. Well, we can take a close look at all of that.
Please take a close look at everyone, not just us.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, I have a couple.
Yes, sir.
More of a couple statements. I was talking to a good friend of mine. He works for the city of Gastonia Police Department. And we were talking, and he said, man, I think y'all have opened up a can of worms. And, the sheriff's going to be coming up there. You send him these questions. And I actually said, no, it's a good thing. Actually, in hindsight, or months down the road, I think we'll find this whole process, maybe not how we got here, but I think the point that we are here is a very good thing. There has always been misconceptions from every department, from commissioners to sheriff deputies, you name it, to the county police, to any department. There's always been misconceptions. What has happened in the past is everybody talks about everybody. That's politics. This is leadership. bringing it out on the table, setting it out. Let's talk about it. Let's discuss it. Not behind closed doors, not at some meeting. Let's get it out there. I find it ironic. Everybody talks about consolidation as long as they get the lead. It's hilarious. All the municipalities think the county should be under the sheriff's office. But if you say, let's put all the municipalities under the county, it's just crazy. It's all politics. And everybody is staking out territory. Everybody thinks they're better than everybody else. And it's a lot of infighting in their community. Here's the bottom line. The state statute says, not this current board, the state statute says, and an opinion from the Attorney General states that you have a county police, you have a sheriff's office. That can only be changed by the state legislature, period. Let me tell you how it's not political. When the Democrats had control of the governor, the House, the Senate, the sheriff's office, and one of the most powerful Democrats in the state, and a Democrat county commission, they could have dissolved it right then and consolidated. They didn't. Maybe they thought it was a good thing that you have both of those things. I don't see it happening anytime in the future. Is that a question that should be talked about? Most of you are like, I cannot believe he's talking about this.
I know, I didn't bring it up.
But I did, because this is good. It's good stuff to be talked about. I 100% support the county police, the sheriff's office, all the different municipalities throughout the county that have their own departments. We all have our own ideas on how those things should be ran and things of that nature. You're always going to have that. When this board is gone and when you leave your office, you're still going to have a lot of those issues and everyone thinking they have the answer and they can run it better. So I just wanted to really get that out there. Here's where I'm at. I don't think politics, Republican or Democrat, in my opinion, plays a role. I do think we have a mutual respect. I think this board overall and the sheriff's office has a mutual respect. Does that mean we're going to disagree? Yes. There are other departments, you're in office, but there have been other departments, I went back and looked at them, that every item was approved in the budget except their items. I even pulled up an old video where a commissioner just went irate over a truck at the landfill.
No, it's Park and Rec. I was here.
Okay, Park and Rec. So things like that have always happened, and they're going to continue to happen. It's part of her job. It's not disrespect to question. If anything, it's disrespectful not to question. And no one is above questioning. Public expression, I want to answer that. It is this board's protocol. It has always been this board's protocol, whether it's the sheriff or anyone else. When you come up and speak in public expression, the board does not comment. If you'll watch your videos, now there have been some exceptions to that, but our protocol is we don't do that. Otherwise, everyone that came and spoke under public expression, you're going to have interaction that's going to do nothing but prolong meetings over and over and over. I do agree with you, Sheriff. For those that don't know that, when he was up here and you were wondering why the board didn't ask questions at that time, it had nothing to do with being disrespectful. That is our protocol. On the agenda, during a board meeting, we have other matters. So under other matters, a couple of the commissioners then brought that subject up. What I did, because I do think there's a lot of misconceptions, and to try to help bring some things together, is I sent the sheriff a list of questions I've heard commissioners say, I've heard people out in the community say. Let's go ahead and get it on the table. I sent it to him. He sent it back, said, hey, I think it'd be good if I come to your board meeting and explain some of this. Some of it you just can't put in writing. I don't know if people will completely understand that. I said, great, great idea. So he came today and answered a lot of those questions. Now, to me, that's not a bad thing. I'll tell you what's bad. Continuing the same old process of everyone infighting and everyone having misconceptions. See, today, if this board has a question, if they don't ask the question, that's on them. But this is an open, public discussion that should strengthen the sheriff's office, strengthen the county commission, and show you that we can work together. Dialogue is not bad. Being questioned is not bad, whether you like it or not. It's a good thing. It's democracy.
I
will
hope I
say
haven't
this.
gave you the impression I don't mind being questioned.
No,
Okay.
not you. I do think some of the folks in the sheriff's office, based off of some of the emails that I got, that I think were pretty disrespectful, didn't know the protocol. At the same time, if I'm in those shoes, I don't know all the sides, I may react that way too. I'm trying to explain that.
Yes, sir.
I will say this, I think I told you in person, I should have called you ahead of time. I told you that. I actually apologize for that. I owe you that courtesy as a friend and as a elected official and someone that serves this county. So I'm not ashamed to say that. I think in the future we'll have some better discussions. We're going to question, but just because we question, I'm not talking to you, I'm just the public, just because you ask a question does not mean that's negative. I would start to ask questions if there never was any questions. And I think if you'll go back and look over the 10-year history of the sheriff's office budget, when it comes to employees, when it comes to vehicles, and total number, there is no one out to get anybody, and the facts will show that. I do think this was a situation that I take responsibility for on this board that we could have handled in a better way. And going forward, we will do that. I believe everything rises and falls on leadership. As chairman of this board, I take full responsibility that there could have been better communication. We could have worked it out in a more amicable way, and I have pledged to do that going forward.
And I do too, sir.
That's all I have to say. Is there any other questions from the board? Commissioner Keeger.
Yeah, I tried to get your attention earlier, but
raise your hand up high.
I hope you weren't disrespected, but it was a mistake, and I too think that, you know, as a department head, whether you're an elected official or not, as a department head, if an item like that is going to be jerked out from under your feet, you should have been notified. And but again, I don't know if that's disrespectful or if it was just a mistake.
The appearance.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's all I have.
Earl, question. Based off looking at the request, I mean, this is not a voting session. These are things that will still have to be discussed. After your conversations with the sheriff, where do you think we're at on the cars? What would be your recommendation?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I have had some additional discussions with the sheriff, and certainly, we've long acknowledged that the 6 cruisers in question met all of our criteria in terms of the mileage, their age, and the maintenance requirements for those vehicles. So certainly they're justified in that respect. And I think that the sheriff has presented some very convincing arguments. And, whether an officer is serving papers or not, it certainly justifies the use of a police cruiser. I guess the one question that remains is, would it be possible to put an MDT and a shotgun and blue lights on a Segway?
They sent me one of them too.
I've
had the Gambit, the Gambit, but
seriously, I think the visibility of law enforcement is an important deterrent to crime, and certainly the ability to respond in emergency situations or as crimes are arising is very important as well. So the short answer is yes, I would recommend the replacement of those cruisers with the Dodge Chargers as the sheriff has specified.
Thank you, Earl. No other questions for the board? I think Jason had the question. Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, Mr. Mathers, can I ask you a question? Could you say specifically what leads you to kind of change your opinion on that?
I think the sheriff's arguments are very convincing.
Commissioner Price?
Thank you. Do you have a list of vehicles, Sheriff, that assigned cars?
With me?
Well, we've got some, but
I'd have to see what your list is.
okay.
All right.
On the left-hand column is a car number, right? And I'm going to call out a number, and would you tell me why this individual needs a Dodge Crown Vic or Dodge Charger?
They don't make the Crown Vics no more.
Okay, Dodge Charger or anything 601.
601?
Is administration.
That's Captain Williams?
Well, I don't care who it's assigned to, but I'm just saying, why does an administration person need a Dodge Charger?
Captains that work on field services. He is a field service captain. He's out in the field working every day. He is a deputy.
And why does he need a charger if he's supervising administration?
Because he's still out. Mr. Price, he's still a law enforcement officer. He's out there. One of his deputy calls for help. He's responding to that.
About 603. Training.
Training. Again, that's a captain within the sheriff's office. That vehicle, he goes back and forth carrying equipment for different training exercises. He also is responsible to come out and assist in emergency situations. He's a law enforcement officer.
About 606, jail.
Well, 606 is Major Cothran.
It doesn't matter.
Yes, it does.
Who it's assigned to.
Yes, it does. You can't nitpick without looking at their job function, Mr. Price.
Well, what does jail mean? What does driving back and forth to the jail?
No, sir. Yeah, people that have take-home vehicles do drive back and forth to do their job. Sure they do. Okay? But a jail captain at night is responsible for service of domestic violence orders, taking prisoners to the hospital. We have 2 vehicles that are on each jail shift that do those responsibilities.
622. Something service. Supervisor service.
Jay Long is he's a field service corporal that is out in this field working.
Why didn't it say road if he's on the road?
I do not know. Can anybody tell me why it says SUV supervisor's service? Oh, I might know that one. At this time, because the document you have is from 12/14, he may have been assigned to the domestic violence unit at that time. I don't know. I don't know. But he does work out in the field now.
Okay, well, I could go through the rest of my list that I've got marked, but I'm not saying they don't need a car. I'm just saying what type of car. I just.
Okay. Let me.
I'm just trying to say, is there something not more economical
No,
than
sir.
a Dodge Charger or?
No, sir. In my opinion, as the sheriff of Gaston County and an official of a law enforcement agency, no, sir. But let me go further in trying to explain how we do things at the sheriff's office.
Sheriff, right here. I want hold on a second. I think the question, if I'm wrong, I just want to clarify it. I think the question is, I think there's a misconception here that can be cleared up.
I'm trying.
The question, I think there's some misconception. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's true or not. You can answer that.
Yes, sir.
I think the question is, there's this idea that some folks take a $60,000 patrol car, or ever how much it is, home, drive it to work all day, never use it, and they only use it just to go back and forth to work. I think that's the misconception. If you can clear that up, I think that answers. Am I correct in that?
In every law enforcement agency in Gaston County, administrative personnel have take-home vehicles. In addition to having that, every administrative law enforcement officer, if you're just talking about the administration, has other job functions. Let's take Captain Shay Wilkerson right here. He has presently been reassigned to an administrative function handling sex offenders, gun permits, the front office of civil process. He also carries an AED. So he could be dispatched from the office to go on an AED call. He would go out and supervise his personnel during the day in their job of seeing that the 400-plus sex offenders are being properly accounted for. He also, in the event that the field service captain would be out that day, would be responsible for stepping into that spot also like any other captain. When he is in his vehicle, he is on patrol and has the same law enforcement responsibilities of everybody and needs the proper equipment to do that job. But what I was going to explain to you further, Mr. Price, and I think the charge is $25,000, and then the equipment is around 3 or 4. It's not a $60,000. I ain't got no 60. Well, I do have one. At the sheriff's office, how we do our vehicles, not every deputy has a take-home car. Not every deputy. When we get a new car, that vehicle is assigned to field services and is passed down the line. By doing that, we make our vehicles last between 6, 8. David, didn't we have one that went 10 years?
Yeah, some 20 years.
Okay. We make them last where you don't have to buy them as often. If you purchased a smaller car and it's out doing a law enforcement function, one of the positives about vehicles that are made specifically for law enforcement, they are made with heavy duty. In other words, the equipment that they have within them is heavy duty. It will last. You can ask Ray or any of them that the demands of the equipment that we have in the vehicle and the areas that we patrol and the amount of time that we're in the vehicle, you need heavy-duty suspension, heavy-duty shocks, heavy-duty alternator for the vehicle to last. Because we purchase vehicles that are law enforcement certified, they can make it 150,000 miles and still be relatively safe for the officer to operate. If you purchase less vehicles, they're not made to those specifications, and they would wear out significantly sooner, in my opinion. And from the literature that I've read about vehicles, because I read about vehicles a lot. So that's one of the reasons that you should not, or I would not never recommend something other than a certified law enforcement vehicle. Plus there might be a little bit of liability there that you had officers in non-certified law enforcement vehicles doing law enforcement functions.
Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Thank you for...
Well, I hope I cleared it up, Mickey. I mean, I was trying to be respectful as I could.
It's good. Dialogue, getting these questions out is good. That's going to help us move forward and have a better relationship. Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Brown.
Do we still have the, I call it the Smokey and the Bandit car over there? Is that still in operation? Have we got rid of that yet? That's one that does need to get rid of. The one that's got the one bubble on top?
Oh, it's gone.
Oh.
Yeah, it
Thank
left. It left a while back. Our oldest vehicle was a Chevrolet Impala, and it went about, David, 20 years. Yeah. Yeah. And if you'll look at your list, you can see the age of some of our vehicles.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Board. To the Sheriff Office employees, thank you for coming. Whether you agree or disagree with certain members of the Board or things of that nature, I hope you do see that it's a good dialogue. It's discussion that needs to be had. And I think going forward, it'll make us a better county and having a better relationship as well. Okay, our next item
is a meeting.
Yes, our next item is other matters. Any other commissioners wish to discuss anything under other matters?
Is he related to Earl?
Earl matters? Yeah. This concludes our work session for tonight. The Special County Commission meeting will convene shortly. I'd like to thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, please telephone our clerk, Donna S. Buff, at 704-866-3196 and share them.
See you later. Hey, okay, thanks.
At this time, I'll call the special meeting to order. The first item is to approve a resolution for the Rural Economic Development Grant. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Item A, made by Commissioner Keeger, seconded by Commissioner Carpenter. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Carpenter.
Well, I asked the attorney, is there a reason that we state that Tracy and I can execute this?
They asked for two signatories.
Okay, two signatories.
Yeah, there'll be a series of documents that will need to be
Okay, I just
executed
wanted to
as we
clear that
go.
up.
So just in case somebody's not available, we'll have two authorized commissioners.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carpenter. Any other discussion before the board? All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Our next item is the county manager's report. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to go into many items at all tonight. Just, of course, a reminder that we're having our annual budget retreat on Saturday. Fun time will be had by all, I'm sure. But I did want to propose something for the board's consideration, and that would be to consider composing a resolution in the near future that would provide continuing health insurance coverage for all county commissioners as they leave office if they've served at least 8 years. The premiums that would be charged to those commissioners after they leave office would be the same as employees would pay at that particular time, so the same premiums. Therefore, there would be no direct cost to taxpayers in doing this. And some of the justification for this, I think, involves the service that the commissioners provide to the citizens of Gaston County and the relatively low compensation that you have. Your compensation actually is inferior to many of your counterparts in similar counties around the state. And so this would provide an additional benefit to commissioners after they leave office for that service. And so therefore, I think it would be justified and with very minimal, if any, cost impact. This for your consideration.
Okay. Any other matters on your report?
Not today.
This time I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Fraley, seconded by Commissioner Williams. Any discussion? All in favor? Meeting is adjourned.